The story is about a man named Chunyufin who falls asleep under a large locust tree. In his dream, he enters a kingdom called the Great Locust Tree Country, marries a princess, and becomes the governor of the southern region, living a life of glory and luxury. However, when the princess dies, he loses favor and is eventually exiled. He wakes up to find that everything he experienced was just a dream. His magnificent life took place inside an ant nest under the tree. This tale is often used as a metaphor to reflect on the illusionary and transient nature of worldly wealth, fame, and power. It teaches that such external glories are fleeting like a dream and that attachment to them can lead to disillusionment. The Orb of Southern Light. In a bustling modern city, nestled between sleek skyscrapers and neon-lit avenues, lived a man named Elias Gray. Elias was an unremarkable office clerk, quiet, diligent, and bound by routine. Each day mirrored the one before. He rose before dawn, squeezed into the subway, typed away behind a gray cubicle, and returned to his modest apartment, where he fell asleep watching the news. One evening, after a long and particularly weary day, Elias stumbled upon a small antique shop tucked in an alley he had never noticed before. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of old paper and cedarwood. The shopkeeper, an old man with a serene expression, offered Elias a peculiar object, a glass orb embedded with what seemed like swirling smoke. "It shows you the world you most long for," the shopkeeper whispered. Curiosity nudged Elias. That night, he placed the orb beside his bed. As he drifted off, the room darkened and the orb pulsed with a soft, violet light. He awoke. Not in his apartment, but in a dazzling palace of marble and gold. Servants attended his every whim. In this world, Elias was not a clerk but a celebrated statesman. His intellect was revered, his name sung in the streets. He was married to the nation's beloved princess, wise and kind, who saw in him a partner of equal spirit. Together, they ruled the southern province, a lush and prosperous land, free from suffering. Elias implemented reforms that changed lives. Wherever he went, he was greeted with flowers, music, and praise. Years passed. His face grew lines of wisdom, his robes grew heavier with medals and honors. He had become something of legend. Then one evening, the princess grew ill. The physicians could do nothing. She died with his name on her lips. Grief-stricken, Elias began to notice subtle shifts. The court grew cold. Ministers who once praised him now avoided his gaze. His opinions, once gospel, were dismissed. Rumors flew. He had grown arrogant, they said. He had only risen through marriage. Soon, he was summoned before the emperor. A replacement had been appointed to govern the southern province. Elias was to return to the capital, stripped of title, stripped of glory. As he left his mansion for the last time, he looked back. No one came to bid him farewell. The journey home was long and silent. When he arrived at the capital, he found no palace waiting. No friends. Only a quiet room in a forgotten wing of the city. He sat on the cold stone floor, hands trembling, heart hollow. As he closed his eyes, the world crumbled into light. He awoke in his apartment. The orb beside him had cracked. The next morning, Elias walked the same streets, boarded the same subway, returned to the same gray cubicle. But he was changed. He no longer envied the powerful nor longed for their crowns. He understood that titles fade, beauty wilts, and applause dies down. What remains is how one lives. Quietly, earnestly, without illusions. And from that day, Elias lived not in dreams of grandeur, but in the reality of moments. Small kindnesses, deep reflections, and the wisdom of knowing that the most radiant kingdoms may be nothing more than a dream in a swirling glass orb.